Welcome to the Bird's Eye View. This series is not meant to be a political or cultural commentary, nor is it a nitpick or comprehensive review. What we will be doing is diving into entertainment to try to understand its message, how well it accomplishes this, what we can learn from it, and how it might be improved. So let's look into it. In this video, we're going to take a look into Batman Begins and how we can fix Batman Begins. Now, when I say the word like fix, a lot of people are going to think that implies I believe it's broken. Now, that's not necessarily the case. Much of Batman Begins, like I've talked about before, is quite excellent. The way that the message is structured is very well done. On many layers, it echoes its core themes across its characters, and the characters interact with those themes very well. However, in the third act, you can see it really start to falter, and the biggest point where it does that is when it comes to Ra's al Ghul and Batman. Let me explain. Fundamentally, this movie is about vengeance and justice. It's about the fight between Thomas Wayne and Ra's al Ghul, and Batman being caught in that fight. So as this movie progresses, it's about Batman and Bruce Wayne, more importantly, accepting his father's legacy. Now, how does this relate to Ra's al Ghul and the problems? Well, like I've talked about in the past, it doesn't end where it should end because it's forced to be a Batman movie. What Batman truly is a vigilante fighting against injustice. Many of those traits are things he learned from Ra's al Ghul. So when ending the movie, you end it on that note with him continuing to be Batman. It takes away from him learning that Thomas Wayne's legacy and his way of doing things was much better than Ra's al Ghul's. The downfall of Batman Begins, in my opinion, is that the message itself is fundamentally subverted. The edge is taken away by Batman, or I should say Bruce Wayne, continuing to be Batman. Now, if we made one big change, and this is something I might have hinted at earlier, if we make one big change of staying with Ra's al Ghul as an overarching villain, lingering in the shadows, quite literally and metaphorically in this case, that would do a great deal to justify why Batman must stay Batman. Why, instead of Bruce simply giving up the cowl and deciding to take on Thomas's legacy fully, like how this movie should have gone. Instead, because Ra's al Ghul is still around, he must continue to hone Ra's tactics that he's learned to use against Ra's. The second big change that I would make is I do not believe Batman, the one that we all know and love, would actually have full-on killed Ra's. Now, you can argue that he just let him die, but this is not at all the Batman we've watched in comics, TV shows, and video games. The same one that has time and time again actually gone out of their way to save, of all people, the Joker. There's a much better argument to be made that Ra's al Ghul should be saved versus the Joker. Yet how many times in Batman the Animated Series or the Arkham games you can see Batman going out of his way to save someone like the Joker, or even someone like Victor Zsasz, who's a serial killer, and yet he believes so fervently that he should not kill, he goes out of his way to save those people. So when a Batman fan watches this movie, it does feel somewhat false, somewhat phony to watch Batman actually allow his arch enemy throughout the film to completely, unequivocally die. And the reason I use those words is that in this case, there was no Lazarus pit. There was no chance that he actually would come back. So then the second big change that I would make would be Batman would in fact try to save Ra's, but would be unsuccessful. So those being said, let's go into some of the more important details, or what I would say is a sketch of how I think the climax should go and how it should end up, because I think that will do a great job to plug in the gaps, to fill in the holes of this movie, and in my view, make it a much better film. So I hope you guys think so too, but I'm going to head right into it, and you can tell me what you think of my overall vision as we stop. In this version, mostly it would stay the same except for the climax, and that to me is during the train scene. So we'd begin in that train scene where Batman comes to confront Ra's, and the first fight would go very similar to the original. They would go back and forth, and I would have it exchange sides, both exchange blows, and then, and here is a big difference that I would like to add to it, I think it would help a great deal if they were both exposed to the fear toxin, because we can see how they both interact under it. We can add some things about Thomas Wayne, some things about Ra's, and it can go back and forth. For those of us who have watched or played the Arkham games, there's a great sequence in Arkham City that goes very similarly to how I'm thinking, although this will be much more live action, of course, and not be as ethereal. It won't be quite as strange. It's definitely a video game. However, the same type of principles apply. I want it to feel like it's a spiritual experience. Both of them fighting for at least a couple minutes on this other plane. Bruce sees visions of his father. He has to overcome the fear that's in front of him. And on the other hand, Ra's gets the upper hand because of this. Because Ra's has, to some degree, subjugated the fear within himself. He's taken that over, used it as a power. So he gets the upper hand until Bruce is able to overcome his fear of bats, and also his fear of not living up to his father. And that all happens back and forth in this dreamlike sequence when they're both exposed to the fear toxin on board the train. So as they're fighting back and forth, Ra's, like I said, takes the upper hand. As he takes the upper hand, he's able to batter and bruise Bruce until he's on the breaking point. And then, like I said, he overcomes his fear, and that's when he's able to push Ra's to the limit. And when that happens, I think a good twist that would be in line with the messages, he uses a spare vial of antidote on Ra's. And I like this idea because it emphasizes how Ra's uses fear against people, like a weapon, like a superpower. And because he's able to use his fear, that's how he's able to beat people into submission, how he's able to be better than other people, or at least seem better. So the way he's able to take that power away from him is by using the antidote against him. That's just one idea. However, that's not the main point. The main point is that after this dreamlike sequence, Bruce is able to finally win after he confronts his fear. And this is where we reach some important dialogue. Ra's looks at Bruce and says, "I've tried to starve people," or "I've tried economic warfare," some variant of that. "And now I've tried to use fear. Next time, I will come at you in full force. I will come at you with terror, and you will not be able to stop it." And after that, Bruce knocks him out. Or maybe they exchange blows one more time, and then he gets knocked out. Well, after that, just like the beginning, Bruce puts Ra's on his shoulder and is about ready to carry him out. However, several of the League of Shadow ninjas confront him. And meanwhile, Bruce has been battered and bruised because of the fight, because of this fear-induced toxin fight, which for a great deal of time, Ra's had won. And so Bruce is already somewhat exhausted, but on top of that, he's literally got Ra's on his shoulder. So he's not able to beat the ninjas back in time for them to steal away Ra's body. After they steal away his body, maybe 10 seconds later, you watch that same train fall and explode. So then after this, the rest of the scenes play out very similarly to the original, except for just a little bit more dialogue, which to me really wraps it up well. And that is, Bruce looks over while Wayne Manor is being rebuilt and says to Alfred, "My father was right. His influence saved Gotham. I wish I could be the man he used to be. I wish I could influence people how he does. But while the League is still there, Bruce Wayne isn't enough. Gotham still needs Batman. One day, Alfred, once Ra's is gone, I'll be like him. One day." And Alfred can look over at him and says, "You can't be the man he was. You can be better. Brick by brick, Master Bruce, brick by brick." And from the looks of it, and then he looks out at Wayne Manor while it's under construction, and he says, "You've already begun building." Now the lines can be tweaked somewhat, and I'm sure my delivery wasn't very good, but the point still remains that all of this did a good job of setting up that Ra's actually will return, or that the League of Shadows will indeed return. And their return is exactly what enables Bruce, or makes him continue to be Batman. So while he learned a great deal, and he learned from Thomas Wayne's influence and that he should continue to be like Thomas Wayne, he cannot fully embrace Thomas Wayne because he still has to confront Ra's, who will come back in the next ones with terror, just like he said. And to me, that actually does a good job of setting up Joker, because it can hint at the idea that Joker was a setup, almost like a hurricane or a tornado set right for Gotham to inflict terror upon the citizens and try and bring it crumbling to the ground. So it fits perfectly. I think it adds a level of coherence to the films in general, but more importantly, for this film, it justifies why he didn't just give up everything and live fully like his father's son, like Thomas Wayne. And it also does a good job of showing why at the end, why at The Dark Knight Rises, he in fact comes full circle and ends up being a lot like Thomas Wayne, giving up the cape and cowl and decides to influence people in another way. So that is my attempt to set up the future of the Batman franchise and fix some of the flaws of this movie, and I hope I've done a pretty good job. You guys can let me know in the comments, and next time we're going to put all this together in one video so that way you can see it in full context on the whole. This has been the bird's eye view look at Batman Begins. I hope you enjoyed it, found it full of insight, and I hope you watch the ones next time.